Larger than life, she's the heart and soul of any Chelsea party, and she's built a reputation as the girl that loves her hard landscaping. Last year, she co-designed a smaller show garden and won a gold. This year, she goes alone.
I've always been a very strong lover of hard landscaping materials, really, and Chelsea's been a chance for me to really experiment. I've gone with a really strong colour theme. I really wanted to kind of turn the whole garden on its head, really. So I decided that we would have the strong colours within our hard landscaping. The green of the foliage and plants would support the hard landscaping, and usually it's the other way around. So the garden is very red, a literal translation of the British Heart Foundation's work. With the planting, I've really tried to focus on texture and colour, and also the range of tones within leaves as far as glossy shapes and things like that are concerned. I've tried to use the vertical space as much as possible. We've got huge great limes that surround the garden at the boundary, and they're interesting not only because they're native, but they have these wonderful heart-shaped leaves. And when they're young, you can actually crop and eat those as a salad as well. So they're important trees for me. They kind of get across all of the messages. I'm also including certain plants that are involved with cardiology. There are some stumps of Salix caprea that I'm using beside a central pool, and that's a really important plant as a source of aspirin. I want the garden to celebrate life in all its forms, so actually the natives should bring in lots of insects, and that will keep it buzzing with life. The whole design of the garden really hangs around the structures. And these huge, great red corpuscles are inspired by blood cells. These are a transparent red resin and acrylic structure. We've had to actually invent the material that they're made from. At night, the cells are lit. That's quite a difficult technique to get right. The other strong hard landscaping element is that we have these great huge red arches that are a literal translation of the heartstrings, and these structures, they'll rise from within the planting and zoom around the space, framing views. They'll be crossing, so you'll get different perspectives through the garden. I'm hoping that you'll get lots of reflection from the black water of the clouds and the space around it. I really want the garden to feel like an experience and not just something that you look at. I want it to be interactive. I've used quite a lot of textural backbone plants, things like ferns. There's lots of Asplenium scolopendrium in there, so they're lovely because they have this really glossy texture to them. So they'll bounce light into the space. In between that, we've got things like Regersias and hostas. I'm using hosta Devon Green actually, again because that is really glossy. There are a few flowers in there, but again, they're green. We've got Xandidicia green goddess. It's a great plant because it will grow actually in marginal water, but it will also grow in a drier position as well. I'm using some tall plants like Angelica to give us some height because they'll kind of be able to screen some of the red and actually separate it from the viewpoints in certain areas of the garden. And that's going to be important to make sure the red doesn't dominate too much. The garden's only going to work if I get the balance right. The red needs to be the main event, but it also needs to be toned down and yet enhanced by the green of the planting. The garden is much more green than it is red, but the red really socks you in the eye. It's all about getting the balance just right. I really wanted to do something that would stand out. I wanted to do something that was exciting for me and something different to what I would do in my general work. It's a fantastic opportunity that I didn't want to waste. I know some people will absolutely hate the garden, but I'm hoping that some people will love it. And most of all, I'm hoping that people will remember it.
The garden and Anne-Marie are like a breath of fresh air. It might be her first large show garden, but boy does she know how to put on a show. It's vibrant, it's colourful and it's creative. But most importantly of all, it can be viewed from the paths, which after all is the least the paying public deserves.